Te Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of motivation, we should all participate in this Lamrim discourse on the stages of the path leading to enlightenment by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. Allow me to read about a couple of pages from this Lamrim Chemo, volume number 2 in the English translation of Lamrim, page 154, to give you the blessing of lineage oral transmission, followed by explanation.
你把车也你们了，这车也你们了，马东为你们那边就来给我动的啥把也进了。这些车了说，你这可以的，大个工作这个什么这什么的，天天跑保护这边。这把街道我就这个那我这边是那把这边到嘞，给我家上上边给我就把送了我就把养我给我家上边去把最近节把这些包括把些呗，给我弄工作上把给这个些给这边就把送。有钱这些了，这把给我那科技上升个把些了科技个有这了些呗，俺们年就把你看见也是那了这我已经到真正。啥吧？这个的先送吧，这把那我看这个这边电机上升的，上升机电的上升机车呢，也咋就呢？上升嘛一边啊上升了，这呢我大些嘛把用这来送我些，有的上升说也忙哎，但我车也就这个用通话的电没得那边俺些吧，大些给我交不了，找我叔叔。接着给我早晚做不了，下来了，这吧每回就带老头来跑跑，他就一跑嘛，兄弟就给弄到，给弄给的找到我什么学的了，一老他们就下山的，什么他们去吧，老我对面做吧，对他老子我给弄到，你啥些都那别我把这些都那些一块子那么特别，把那什么你。也把天气都给弄的，后来就吃也不也是也，这些东西都用这吧就是些小玩意，这下头的把你话个学习上的了，这老师他们教对对上的，这个就是到上的这些给弄给找我的不就这小娃送的上的给找我的到看控制谁把它啥把它用是小王用是我是我就是你我过去的上不中不这吧了，没说我的没把这些把它打不那嘛都我你我过去你给我找我全部的打吧啥把它用是什么都用是7分9。你要过的到原来今年给我了11月的吧没叫我那不些吧当的没绿了大几没叫我先说。给咱这边同行而且给咱那些这边有的这边那把乡里面这边已经把养生的，我了写到单位的这边就把人家他对叫他这那，然后给这边民警吧，啊民警吧没这边民警吧，这边民警吧没这边今天别那么看给讲了吧这边什么。我们那你们别上班帮我们这边写这些，开发完个也送我就这点呢。忙开完了，这边说的就你不到个游戏，没给我讲别给我上班帮我们讲我他随便讲的这讲个那边人去吧，没随便去。然后那边穷那边随便来给没给样上班帮我们讲。前几天他这就把那边等我们随便写的当舆论说吧，他把舆论这么多说吧，这边在老大的你这就是因为没给别上午嘛帮讲简单啊，才能老大当你这几，叫我们随便写着写样啊，这样别联系后来我几个当写什么都是没给，给没给联看看我了，明白的这些了这些。俺来现在明白可搞叫我这咱们给我没给我，就把这小队没人，下明年先嘛是别写了，我这些那边讲生咱们讲生活中给这准备东西没人，现在呢没给来东的当这个给咱中间的送过吧，就是说就能得了，论文0点几几，俺写吧在这没给我都已经把当老大当女生给咱就没你个。3、4年吧，3、4年嘛，3、4简单嘛，才讲讲，哎呀，如果明叫我到这3、4年吧，简单在讲，如果明叫我到吧，他对简单，才也叫么这个你们吧送，天俺些吧在这6、8个3吧到不起也讲呗，大讲那么可嘛接我老推的送，给我推的送。明给我带来科技了，你也把当把这种送，你这不用这不用说吧？就我带回去怎么样？动啊动，本身们老可别七八九对去， 来吉嘛那么这人几位给咱们到叫叫老板就没呢把他开起了，那个这人老说比别七八决定这个大军小时候就叫呢，来到农就说不说说把我就没没用，不是说不用没就把的。खाजे लांगा से बता लोगों ते वे चाचे से बाबा खोटो में ये ना के बच्चे के रोबर रुए ने बिल्ला नि तो बंगाई खोंडू संबच्चे के ना लंग दी वे गुला ये बाबा ताया के बच्चे के वे ये लंग दे बाबा फिर सुमाता बुदे दोनों में के वा दाबला थी ये वे सेवा कहीं तमन जी दा में गो बा जो वादो गेवा जो बा ये थी सेवा कहीं तब जो में गो न्याम सो 원장 대 계시의 상지 야제게 농당 될라데 비리비 르발라데 아니 르발라데네 제고 코나네 레버송바 레버 송자 때라바 제버 샤오 다 그래서 현존대 데르바 간도 세베 세바 군주들 배용다 이니 이미 이거 세바 군주스 다 세베 배용대 그서 도자라 다 들이 세베 이미 되니 에너마시아 제도와 네
Geshe read from page 154 to 157, almost to the end. So that was to give us the blessing of oral transmission of Lamrim Chemo. And now I started to give the explanation and you know that we have been discussing the perfection of patience, of bodhisattvas, and one of the things that we already talked about is to cultivate the perfection of patience, we need to reflect on the benefits of cultivating this quality or the practice and the disadvantages of not cultivating patience. So we have talked about some of the benefits of cultivating patience, and then we decided to talk about some of the demerits or the disadvantages of not cultivating the perfection of patience. So we are going to continue, this kind of a line of thinking in today's teaching.
마동은 님이다. 근데 통에 세대를 가지고 용하게 종직다. 세심하게 종이로 다다디 준주 소야디 세심하게 종들에도. 저도 콘드게지지에서는 근데 깨바동 사비 집바다 들은 중에 근데 게다 건가에는 좀 그래서 진짜 대히셔라서 리제가 대야 콘드지고 좀바지 송바디 근데 파바 다디 마동은 님이다. 저와디 세대를 다 가지 인조제야다 되는 세대를 통하여 말와 어디서다 치마 통야체 그래서 다들 대가나기 파바 대가나기 파바 보은제비 알레 데네 파바 보은데비로와 단 존주 송야데 파바 보우 파진디베네 예베로 어디나 힌데 거바 나샤스 다 존주 거야데 파바 보우 다 파진디베네 용서 거바 나 거바 인사를 해서 뭐로와 다 자벤 넘버를 도에니 깨와 자르삭베 개와 조바 송라 죽바야 깨와 자르삭베 지바도 쓰름 지퍼질라 코바시베 개와는 콘저 뭐 깨직직전 예베 정조바 송소 우티르다 송주면다 다 조조리 깨와 동도 사바시 단 죽발리 깨와 자사바시도와 어디도 송주면자와 인도서다
So as we reflect on or consider the disadvantages of not cultivating patience, that includes actually thinking about the destructive nature of anger, if you will. We can classify that into the negative outcomes of that we can witness in this lifetime, and the negative outcomes that are invisible to us in the sense that will happen in our future lives. And so on page 154, towards the end, we have a popular stanza quoted from Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva's engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds, and which reads, I quote, any good deeds such as generosity and worshipping the Sugadas you have collected over 1,000 eons are all destroyed in one moment of anger, unquote. And so in this engaging in the deeds of Bodhisattva, what we find is this glimpse of a sense of how destructive anger is. We may have accumulated so much virtue or positive energy for 1,000 eons, and that's an incredibly long time, as you can see. But a moment of anger can destroy all that collective virtue, which is a very serious matter, as you can see. And also, often we talk about how anger can precipitate our rebirth in the unfortunate states, which is, again, invisible outcomes, right? We don't see our next life right now. It's going to happen when it happens. So what has been stated in the engaging in Bodhisattva's activities or the deeds actually is stated at the end of page 154 that Shantideva has kind of restated this. This comes from one of the great Indian masters by the name of Arya Asura. Right, in his work, he mentioned that, and Shantideva pretty much restated it in his Chunjo, engaging in the deeds of bodhisattvas. Then it goes on to say, with reference to the play of Manjushri Sudra, where there is mention of how anger can destroy virtue that we have accumulated over 100 eons, right? Now, there's quite a big difference, right? One says 1,000 eons, one says 100 eons. So there are different, positions, taken on this issue, the destructive nature of anger, if you will. Yes.
但是可是切中时候开始给你给把家开始动他个呀，这个切中时候用过呀，可能是那脾气的电下你用过是吧？跟那强势忙一边强势们确实呢。 给把东西也在中国是吧？但这边的乡绅能在这边到起上面呢？这就大可是到起穷村是吧？到起穷村的给把家。但到穷人也切了，确实呢，在地盘上东王们就是家了啥子盘子来这种个。但地呢是个没这么多的，我们公不上的地里下来的。
So if you wonder how do we really resolve this sort of a paradoxes in terms of the numbers given, according to one source, that a moment of anger can destroy virtue of 1,000 eons. In another text, it says a moment of anger can destroy a virtue of 100 eons. So how do we resolve these statistical differences, if you will, mathematical differences? According to Geshe's explanation, that depends upon to whom our anger is directed at, right? It depends on the referent person. If an ordinary person like us, get mad with a bodhisattva, so that moment of anger can destroy virtue of 1,000 eons. So that means a non-bodhisattva getting mad with a real bodhisattva, even a moment of that anger is going to destroy so much of the merit. Okay? Whereas if someone with a higher sort of quality of realization were to get mad with someone with lesser qualities and realizations, in that case, a moment of anger could destroy the virtues accumulated from 100 eons. Yeah, so it depends upon the status, the spiritual status of the individual to whom we, vent into or direct our anger at. And then, as Geshe said, it's not stated in this Lamrim text, but elsewhere in Uma Gongpa Rapsel, unraveling the middle way thought that if individuals of the same sort of spiritual status, calibre, if they get mad with each other, because they could get mad, right? A moment of anger could destroy a virtue somewhere in between 100 eons and 1,000 eons, right? Somewhere in the mid-range category. Okay, so these are the different ways of understanding what does it mean that a moment of anger can destroy so much of our virtue.
어디 가서 가지 상승 그가 채라 가지 유지를 해배 나만은 주발에 가지 예수님을 쳐봐 이제도 스스로 개와 저 사바 깨지 그 뒤에 예수 못 나와서 다지도 다다 유들 그 오만 주발 해봐도 다 되겠어 그래 가지 예수님을 쳐봐 이세 랍자 제가 초유 유들 상승 샤샤스 어디한테 쳐서 봐 어디도 될 틈도 없어 지도는 상승 고고 되면서 고고 말이세요 와 그질이 해와서도 근데 대 가서 상승 고고 말이스 사바게지가 대해서 뭐도 나오 콘트랙에 때는 상승 가서 콘트랙에 때는 상승 기천을 다들 때들라 다 총계의 상승이나 근데 개발자가 중국어로 와 지선 다 상승 많이 배나 다들 샤요로 와 다지죠 뭐 싫어 그때 때는 상승이 저는 계산점은 상승 많이 배는 상승 저는 계산점 다시 뭐 싫어 상승 많이 배 상승 저는 다 되게 되려 버다 개발 동그 된 저거로 와 어디 다시 뭐 그래서 좀에 때서 다시 뭐때 그래서 저는 다시 뭐봐 중재를 송했어 어머니 주변에 송해서 와 어디지 송신 유의 정심소 예망에서 초의 유진이 에는 좀 통하다 내매 되는 알해봤다지 시계자 줘봐라 더 송소세 다 가지 가다 계자 줘봐도 유 정심이나래 정심 많이 봐이나래 에네티 예매들 에는 덴바시는 최외나다 그 덴바마에 한바도 비는데 더다 매바 최외나다 간제 간다이자 최외 예바들 찍바래서 다 김건희씨는 덴바시는 저는 때 차가지고 용공을
So we are on page 155, where there is reference to great Indian master Acharya Chandrakirti's auto commentary on supplement to the middle way or Madhyamik avatar, and in which it is mentioned that if a non-bodhisattva, one who is not bodhisattva, because non-bodhisattva doesn't sound like a good English to me anyway, but who cares? But you get the meaning. If someone who is not a bodhisattva were to get mad with someone who is a bodhisattva, then the virtue accumulated for 1,000 years will be destroyed, right? So that's what's mentioned in Chandrakirti's auto commentary on supplement to the middle way. But of course, as Geshe explained, that the anger does not necessarily have to be directed at a bodhisattva, right? You could get mad with anybody, really. I mean, so it doesn't have to be a bodhisattva. It might happen to be bodhisattva, but anger could arise in relation to X, Y, Z, right? Anybody, if you will. And as Geshe explained, that if a bodhisattva, of a higher spiritual status we have to get mad with, a bodhisattva of a lower spiritual status, even that anger could destroy a virtue of 100 eons, right? If that's the case with a bodhisattva, now how much more serious would it be for somebody like us who are just ordinary sentient beings? Okay? And as Geshe explained, that anger is very destructive in any situation. Okay? We must understand that. And sometimes we might say that, well, is there a difference between justified anger versus, just non-justifiable anger? Well, in terms of the destruction of virtue, there isn't, okay? And whether you have a good reason and justification to get mad with someone, but still that anger is going to destroy lots of your virtue. And of course, if you don't have any good reason to get mad, well, then you really, I'm sorry, my first foot is screwed up, more. This
that because 질 예외선 좀을 장선 좀 먹고 돼. 지당다 다들 예절 좀 장선 좀 먹고 롱해다 럽들리는 시타지 요가 롱 대창야서 다 결혼제가 있는 산지에 링세다 진짜 최대한 야차세는 류 그게 요 가서 네, 되게 최종이 언제서기 사기를 맞도 뭐 뉴기 타는 야 콜로지 제우 겨울에 하더니 얘는 손을 싸고 그랬어.
No, so.
엔텔 요거다 되게 된 세다데 가데 세야도 그랬어요. 얘는 대 조상 벌써 뭐 지원나 그 마시바 마조하다 마시바 니게 마동 없으다. 엔테 상승 구음도 와 소도다 지나치 보도 같이 가서 해서 다 쇼도로 들어서나 엔 게다 되게 싸워서 세와 주레스
No, so.
뭐도 송도
No.
다들 가려서 뒤지고 그러고 다 주발에 뒤에 같이 예세나라 쳐봐 있어야 어디 롱되게 인지면이 상승 고구마로 사면 더가 여러 어디 무거 주된데 장 거로 와
No, so. So in the middle of page 155, we have a large passage quoted from Shiksha Samukcha, or the compendium of Bodhisattva trainings. And as Geshe explained, that passage, provides the evidence that one does not have to necessarily get angry or mad with a bodhisattva. Right? One could get mad with anybody else. And so in that passage, the example given here is the Buddha kind of talked in a hypothetical sense here, that if a monk were to, out of full devotion and reverence, make offering to prostration to a reliquary stupa that contains Buddha's relics, that monk would accumulate tremendous amount of virtue or merit, equal to the dust particles, covered by his length of the body, that touches all the way down to the bottom of the earth, so to speak. So that's a Buddhist expression of saying that you are accumulating a lot of merit, and so that merit might, enable the monk to be reborn as, universal king. Okay, so that's all good news, isn't it? Now, if having accumulated that much merit, if the monk were to get mad with other monk friends, so to speak, the monastic community, okay, so the whole merit will be destroyed in a moment. So that gives us the evidence that we do not have to necessarily get mad with the bodhisattva in order to destroy our roots of virtue, right? Anger directed at anybody else can destroy so much of our virtue.
녀고 대답도 찌는 개월 라양 세윤도 메잖아 남바셰바도 제류를 네 담어지 지고시 돈을 셰소스 디레 다시도디 제가 디레게 잡게 가르사 게자 좀자 셴보 예장 에네 다 심젤라도 쳐야 돼 파쇼스 개와세도 다는 간도 긴동식으로 힘동제 되어서 게메식으로 어 디델라 쳐줘 말스 가르사 다 디레 쳐야지 꼭 겁네요 지금 콘로디가 딱 긴동도 소 메발라 쳐야 돼 가그에서는 에네 송데라 가야 레라 이제로 겁네 제도디 담보 검당으로부터 뭐 독시하고 다 해서 시작 잡시면서 어디데 콘로세야 돼 가지 다 이제 심지이나 다 마이나 다 수직을 쳐줘 말스 거라
So if anger is so destructive in terms of destroying our roots of virtue, then how should we go about sort of preventing the anger from arising in our mind, or how should we control ourselves better, if you will? And as Geshe explained, that if we discipline our mind to the extent that forget about sentient beings or animate beings, if we somehow discipline ourselves not to get mad with even an inanimate object, right? Because we could really get mad with, as Geshe's example, a piece of log, right? It has nothing to do with us, but we just still get mad. And if we give into our anger, even with inanimate objects, then the habit might build in us, and then it becomes easier for us to get mad with the real sentient beings or the animate beings. But right from the beginning, if we are very careful not to, get angry, even with inanimate objects, right? Then of course we will be much more vigilant and mindful not to get angry with sentient beings or animate objects.
다 게서 좀만 돈이 들어. 다 게서 좀나 가려서 될 가지고 돼 봤다. 게서 좀 쓰다 배는 콘트롤 잡지다. 이니 개와 비게 콘트롤 인해서 제가 잡지다. 이니 개벨레 해다 데로지야 레인 요이나. 이니 콘트롤 되게 녜리야 데로 밀게야 개에서 디바 타르무르다는 게 콘트롤 잡으면 봐. 대대지 좀 쓰게 됐어. 다 가지게 됐어. 다. 어쨌다 가지직 되시. 맞아. 근데 저 밖에 깨는데 태서는 이제 리브스타는 매버스 레드라요 말했고. 다 배는 미가 게좀 난다. 게와 콘디션나 가르치는 말이네. 리브 장생아래 맞다 지. 리브 매버래 말했어. 이 가지직이다. 더도 깨는 데는 가서 맨데 지대면 남지 뻥작 상황을 보면 내시로 해. 개박까지 송어서. 더티파 가야 되다. 유대되는 망했대 소득기우 년부터 이 매겨 장비 여인 사분방바 면장 어느 다수 개한테 퇴장 남인 저 메시베 쳤다 라나기 남인 총네 세베 레게베게 양 사분방바 면장 친제 개한테 퇴장 아니 남이디 좀 메시베 다디 유전들에 디처럼 데테고 도스 가르세서 그 지대라 사원방면에 있어서는 사원방 뒤뒤로 지대 조금 도스 그래서 간서 레드 사는 거 레코랑 남이디 용나 사원가 방요 말아 남이 유도 다 용전 용고 말아 어디에 다 좀be 돈도 말아 어디 가서디 방발디 게좀발라 인지면지 사원방고 말해 근데 대적시 러나기 남이 총세베 레메가 야 사원방바 마이자 친제见的 天那样 남이 좀 미지죠 다 레기 남이 세야데 그래서 어제다 레들 다가 남이의 유딘다 이네 가르사 당대다 이네 기부신데서 신의 여러 어디 남이의 거저 레가래 남이 찍무 좀 마다 남이의 거 녀와 지금 녀와 된다 가와지 찍시 이네 다다 기부신데서 야디 데레 지가 깨어 뭐 평가요 다 간지 뭐 남이 지금 쉬어 말이 어찌저도 이제 디 때다부터 이제 남이 용상을 될 이제 그 사본데 방야 말 그러나 이제 남이 용네 봐 매워 차를 말이지 그 님부터기 매워 서 말봐 그 사본 방에 계셔 말아 제가 그 사본 좀 말아 엔티는 영전 용거를 남이 용거를 그 사본 방야 말아 봤어 다 딱세도 단데서 걸어
다 딱세 파 가지를 파던 거로
가지 받던 거 그러나 다레 예미게 지사 디 리빈 용서도 찍 용서도 거 되는 그 영전 용거 말아
나래
어떤 용문용 어때 얘는 디게 용문용 뭐 차고 말아 봤어 다 그러나 되는 그래서 디게 끝남이 용는 사원방도 말아 그래서 빠마다 인다 아니 영전 용구래 베스트 용구 말아 봤어 어디서 왔다
Those of you who have this English translation of the text, so you can follow was Geshe's explanation based on the passages starting from the bottom of page 155, where the caption reads, "Some scholars' position," over to page 156. There is the response to that position. So as Geshe explained, that the point of contention we have here is that anger destroys roots of virtue, isn't it? So now what that really suggests is that what does destruction of virtue mean? What does that mean? Okay, and so there are different stands or positions taken on that. And according to some critics, okay, that's not our position. When we say some critics, right, it can be whoever those critics are. So what they say is this, that destruction of virtue basically means the postponement of the fruition of your action. It doesn't mean completely nullifying or completely purifying your virtue or destroying it, but it means your virtue might, take a little more time to ripen their results. Yeah? And the example given is, say, somebody has accumulated a good karma, right? So you do something good, and then the next moment, you become angry, okay? And so that means that anger is destructive in the sense that the outcome of the anger will ripen like before the outcome of your virtue. So your virtue takes a back seat, so to speak, and then it'll take a little more time to bring its result. So they said that's what the meaning of destruction of virtue means. Of course, in the response we say we don't agree with that interpretation of the destruction of virtue. So which is basically saying that it has kind of related to the experience of the ripening result effect of a karma, isn't it? Right? The karma or action has different types of results it could produce, such as environmental result, right? Takwe Debu in Tibetan, and the results corresponding to the past action or past experience, and in the ripening result, right? The Tibetan word is namin. When we talk about the ripening result of any karma, it only produces one ripening result, right? It's not going to produce too many of them. So if you do something bad karma, then its ripening result could be rebirth in a bad migration, hell or hungry ghost or somewhere else, right? And that's it. Okay? And so once you experience the ripening result of that karma, at least that karma cannot, reproduced its negative effect. Yeah? But result corresponding to the past habituated action or the behavior, right? Now that could happen over many lifetimes. It's not like, okay, here is the result of that habituated action now, and now you're done with it, like a ripening karma, because it could still affect over a long period of time and sometimes over lifetimes, if you will. And so in the response, what is said is that when we look at that critic's position, what they tend to be saying is that once you experience the ripening result of that karma, so that is kind of equivalent to, in some sense, and the postponement of the virtue, the karma, is what the destruction of virtue means. And so as Geshe explained, that even if we experience result of a certain karma, it doesn't mean the seed of that karma is being destroyed, right? Seed of the karma, is not necessarily destroyed. When we talk about purification practice, where we apply the four powerful antidotes, Nyembu Topshi in Tibetan, right? And it's through that application of the four powerful antidotes we can really, uproot, so to speak, the seed of the karma and purify it. But other than that, the seed of karma could still be there, even though we experience the ripening result of karma. So then we ask this question to the critics. So now, do you mean that? So once you experience the ripening effect of the karma, the seed is also taken care of. Is that what your position is? So we're just asking a question back to the critics.
And the Ponce Savon Kayapang Yomarabas, in the Lota, the Yenson Cat, Savatan Yenson Cat, Chilun Semoton, Lota Cat in the Yomarabas, the major regiment, some bomb was taken, Jidem Lam, some bomb in the Jidem Tamutara, but because you contacted that, you did of the Geshe Jumdan by Johnson in Salavina, or did he were off, did Joma Shagmaris. Or said that the Yonda did and the Gyeltsen moton Lota Jada, and the Servatan young Yenson Jaya, Kaling, those Carson, the niggas of Savon Kayapang Marabas, some of my Tono Togawan, possible Tonomoton, some of my what is it?
Now, in our sort of positions, as long as the seed of a karma, good or bad or whatever, is intact, then there's every possibility that that seed could germinate, right, again and produce result, right? Unless the seed is uprooted or destroyed, then we cannot still assume that karma is not going to come back, so to speak, and bring its results. And so that's why we are kind of challenging the critic's position. We said, is this your position that once we experience an effect of certain karma, ripening effect, right? Then this, the seed doesn't need to be purified or doesn't need to be taken care of, And so that does not, how should I say, stand the test because, as Geshe explained, when we think in terms of the 5 paths, right? There's a path of preparation, jolam, and it has 4 different levels, stages, if you will. And on the path of preparation, if we are on the patience or level of the path of preparation, it is stated that from then onward, we are not going to create karmas to be reborn in the bad migrations anymore, right? So that is like a very crucial stage of the level to be. And if you are on the peak level of the path of preparation, then we are never going to generate any more wrong views or distorted views of the Lokta in Tibetan. Okay? So if we go by the critic's position, then those who are on these levels, still the seeds of the wrong views and the seeds of being reborn in the bad migration should still be there, isn't it? And which means there's a lot of uncertainties from our perspective. And so as Geshe explained, where we really are able to destroy the seed of, how should I say, negativities is only when we gain a direct realization of emptiness, right? When we realize the path of seeing, Tonglam, right, the Darshan Mark, where we have a non-conceptual direct realization into the ultimate reality, so that realization can uproot the seeds of afflictive emotions and negativities.
다 레식 남이 양식 봐서 계속 좀 배토는 미는 다들 자야 탐자들이야. 에네 남이 양식 봐서 야시 라네나. 에네 계속 톰된 간가 또 시아 간가 에네 미거 좀 지시. 미거 또 쳔보 간가. 에네 여 좀지 샤고 그러서 그런 노래 나이시나.
알아놓소.
디 가르스는 됐어와 그래서 개발인데 산다 레게메 간가 여다 땅에레네 가리 디웅엘 민그레세나. 저 그래서 레기 코아체가데 녀아가도 고마워. 뭐제 그냥 디민저스 승아 가르겔 미게스 겔 가르시나 디민그레스 거와. 노서. 당겔 제다데 톱시중지 다다 톱시중지 겔 가서 톱시중지 톱시아드 미게 어때? 톱시중이는 진짜 톱시아 겔 미게스. 다 톱시중이 없는 가르시거서는 녀마 겔 시아디 겔 주민그레스. 노서. 다 되게 송바이나 소소 베시르드 셈도부터 가르쳐 계획서도요도 미겨서 드레지 잘해 녀와가도 공부하러 와. 어디시 다 들어 간거냐나 이거가 공시 거의 어디래. 팀이 줄수도던 건제 들어 간거냐나 다 지당 현다 쉬모고시. 건제 레 top 체중이 간제 top 시아 등에 민게 top 송을 조그려 shago 와. 지수도 다 레 밴드 기와 top shago 간가 예 미우는 미가 top 중수도 빠까샤라 와. 저도 미가 좀 지셔도 거와. 다 미가 top 저에는 티고 민서는 여와 디게 까샤 여와디 두파 장마셔 와. 지수도 단다 게미게 top 제인데 베 찌찌 베 좀시로 shago 디마라 와서. 다다디 좀세야디 가다 계산 좀나 아니 컨트롤라서 왜기다 컨트롤 주고도 말이 좀 그래서 메가 좀 님부 또시 샤고는 이제 디레지 봐 양생에 내가 잠게 좀 쓰고 말아. 어디서 왔다.
So if we go with the critic's position, that how the destruction of virtue by anger is like explained in terms of postponing the outcome of the virtue, right, a later time. So that's not really, how to say, holding any water from our perspective, because as Geshe explained, then we have to assert that if we have a powerful virtue, right, and we have a powerful negativity, right, then looks like each of them are kind of counteracting agents against each other, right? And if the negativity is stronger than the virtue, then that's going to, right, how should I say, destroy, so to speak, postpone, right? Destruction is a postpone of the result. Or if the virtue is stronger than the negativity, then it's going to do the same thing, And but in our position, like when we talk about, how should I say, destruction of negativities or purification, the only way we can purify negativities of our mind is through the application of 4 powerful antidotes, right? If we sincerely apply the 4 powerful antidotes, then we can purify ourselves of negativities, Otherwise, negativities don't go away on their own. And just cultivating a virtue is not sufficient enough, right, measure to purify our negativity. It must consist of the 4 powerful antidotes, and virtue is part of that, 4 powers, as you know. And so as then, in the Geshe's explanation, he made reference to great Indian master Vasubandhu's treasure of knowledge, Abhidhamma Kosha, or Ze in Tibetan. Where, Vasubandhu offers this interesting perspectives about, what karma is more likely to ripen, right, first. Okay? And so it is said that in terms of the strength of a karma, whichever is a stronger karma, that is more likely to ripen before the lesser, less strong kind of a karma, both good and bad. Okay, so that means at the time of the death, if whatever is a stronger karma, good or bad, that's more likely to ripen first, and the lesser or the less strong karma is going to ripen later. Right? That's one way to understand it. In terms of karmas of the equal strength, right, equal measure, then whichever one has accumulated first, we have done first, that karma is more likely to ripen before the other one. Okay? And also in the Abhidhamma Kosha, it is said that at the time of the death, depending upon the state of mind we are in, and if we have a stronger positive habit, right, our mind is more likely to be a positive state of mind, so that's going to determine our next rebirth, right? And my second footnote is going to be happy, news. But if at the time of the death, we have a strong negative habit, then our mind is more likely to have a negative state of mind, and so then it's going to determine the next rebirth. My third footnote, bad news there.
Then there are low link, there is that don't that Kajik Pakan, that don't deva Karesana, in the Mega Nimbuto Shipa, John Tawashananda, Giva Kondo Joma Nanda, Karina Mena, the Jomsa Nimbu Jomsa, Nimbuto Shatane, and the Juza again, the Kazay, Numa Kazay Jan, Koyanga Jubing Maris, Karesana. Someone reason any children that Karelo Kazation and Jayamara, but someone river Jiwashin, consider that daughters, that Jum Siadi, Namin Jia may have several series. But this is my could they young cousin to the Yankee Namin Jia and Jum Marwa, or Doctor of the Insigos.
So as we are kind of, having this dialogue or a discourse with the critics, then of course, what is our position on this, right? What does destruction of virtue or destruction of karma mean? So in our own school of thought, if you will, that a moment of anger could destroy so much of our virtue. The destruction here means that our virtues cannot give rise to their ripening effects anymore, right? It's not like our virtues take a back seat and then after a certain time, they meet with the favorable conditions and they're going to boom, right? We are here. Like, it's not going to happen. Destruction of the virtue means it's completely destroyed in the sense that they cannot in any way bring their ripening effect or the result, namin, okay? And the same stands true with purification of negativity, where we assert that for us to purify our negative karmas, we should apply the 4 powerful antidotes. And if we do that well, and then our negativity is purified in the sense that our negativity cannot in any way produce its ripening effect anymore. It's not like our negativity now got postponed for a while, and then other conditions come up, and then they will, boom, bring the result, right? It just means we have kind of disabled the karma, if that's the word I could use, right? Completely, that it cannot in any way produce its ripening effect. So at the end of bottom of page 156, it is stated that our position, what we have said, has been kind of traced back to what the great Indian master Baba Viveka has said. Of course, the texts are not mentioned here, but Geshe is kind of thinking that Baba Viveka's standpoint is either presented in what we call Toge Barba, blazing of reasoning, or the root and the commentary called Uma Nyingbo, the essence of the middle way. Okay, and so this is really how the Lama Tsongkhapa really brings his brilliance here. Whenever he makes some point and he takes a stand, he always makes sure that he's going to refer it back to the authentic Indian master's text, right? So he's basically saying, you know what, I'm not cooking up anything here, okay? I'm just have the credibility and authenticity of these great masters behind me when I make this kind of a position or a claim. So this is where Baba Viveka is invoked here.
럼 공화포야 너바 희우시고 그랬어. 인 소소티 게자다고 시바지데라 다디 코로 망보시 코로데 망로모로 소지요네 간지코 게자 망보 사야들라 촉촉로 누그러 와. 그래서 그 너바 망보여 그랬어. 어디서 왔다.
So we're on page 157 on the top. Why Geshe was chuckling over this is because we said negativity can be purified through the application of 4 powerful antidotes, right? Which is great news, it is, right? And now we might get into this habituated thinking like, okay, so what's the big deal about creating negativity, right? I can create one and I can purify it through application. Then I can create one and so, that seems like evens out somewhere, right? Not really, because there is some issue here that we need to be aware of. And even though theoretically and in principle we agree that negativity can be purified through the application of 4 powerful antidotes, but that does not mean there is not going to be any kind of a negative effect still. Because it's much better not to create the negativities in the first place, then create them and purify them. Because even though we purify them successfully, but still, it has an effect on our practice and spiritual development that it will slow down our spiritual progress. Let's say, you are going to attain the path of seeing next year, right? That's 1 year, very exciting. You're going to graduate and have the path of seeing there. But then, you haven't created a lot of negativities and you purify them through the application for powerful antidote. Now, you may not attain path of seeing next year. It might postpone for another 10 years, see that? So it's pushed back, So the spiritual progress is kind of slowed down with that. So we have to be very careful with that. So don't get into the habit of saying like, so I can purify and so what, I create bad karmas, And as Geshe said before also, that karma has many different kinds of effects, and one of which is effect related to the habituation, habit. So once we catch the bad habit, it always is very hard to get rid of the habit, isn't it? So if we are given to the habit of getting mad and angry all the time, even though now we have found a way to deal with it, but still the habit, is going to bite us, somewhere for a long time. So got to be careful with that.
This is karsa mini bata sa karsa di bonzo yun to gis that this is what did do this and pen the system to sung that because the ko kondo mambo jing geza mambo jom to get the shagi shinan la ko any to jo geza di pige saga the top share the yun at the hira no do this tango kon kondo manjumna and ko ya Kobatov share the union side the Lela Yoris. No. This is la Kaji Garcia, what the Lungdeta vision to an Jawaji Zober, Jawaji Zober, Tire. That changes of my changes by Lungdeta was in the Sanjay, that the changes did give a direction to Sanjay, come to say Lungdeta, Shangia, Toba, Satobo gets a tenor. No. What did that trace and any quite this one, Karsa. Tana kyaji zoba drone bi lam ki tokba gaji khongju samba ji gen se lam di yul ye ba madang ya kyewa ji yin ta kyewa ji so ni hibu chebo ba hibu thanga cha ya ma ba o dine ji ma lam phu do gre so ta ko sang jobo je te ba yin kyewa ji ma ten ya ba
khongju sa wen so
o de ko this way yezil to se da sang so Lungde Towel Trin said, that did the job she did that kind of
give a chickle the aunt, gave a tongue out the jelly and to the ram store.
La, the parts Miguel and Juniata. Miguel Carza, get a job you the chance of toming at the shadow. Tata did a lampu do I did get us. Lampu to that, Lungdeta chance of Trevina. And go give a chima, lam chidden jaggers.
So continuing with the same notion here, where it's much better in the first place, to preserve our virtue. Don't let them be destroyed by anger, right? Then we add more to the virtue, and that is a much better way to approach, because then we'll be faster in terms of our spiritual development and finding our spiritual goals. On the other hand, we do create a lot of virtues, but then we get angry, and then the moment of anger destroys the virtue. Then we purify, then again we create, right? So it takes a lot more time. We are doing the same thing over and again, right? We make good, and then we destroy it, then we do good, then we destroy it, so that will slow down our spiritual progress and development. And as Geshe explained in that, let's say, if even an ordinary person were to get angry with someone with a higher realization, the way it is explained is, someone Buddha has predicted. Well, this person is soon going to be a Buddha soon, right? And if we happen to get mad with this person, we already talked about how that anger is going to destroy so much of virtue. But now what we're talking about is it's going to slow down our own attainment of enlightenment. Let's say, we are quite close to the enlightened state. We happen to get angry with someone of that predicted person, right, a holy being, and so now we might take another extra eon to become Buddha, right? We could have been faster. Now we got slowed down by one more eon to be Buddha. So that's a serious matter,
Oh, this course don't make a daba lion. T. Shiva Kaintan da Mugu Par Tan Jawara. Gyeltsen T. Shiva Kaintan Jomugo Samyamo, Sitera Karsa, Tada T. Karas and the Konami did the Tardu, Tishina go Juganga Tagmari, in Lam Komadunga, and the Tarbudu race, that Nazik Dero. What did I any Miguel and Jonah and the Ganga Jungu Marsura? Nami Kaji. Dukaji did the one, Nami the Marata. Chinaku, Shiva, Dukaji degrees.
No, sir.
Degrees sang with Usira, Kushile Ganga Jungu, the sang with this.
No, sir.
어디 다 데르베는 디레지르시는 디고베 다 빅직 네바드 식 나네로 베 다베 파르당시 나네 에 나니 시에는 쪼보시 고 메데네 샤카보 고 시시는 메데도 나사포라 타서나 나다 지에면 코 넘지면 코 카다 쪼보지 베 쪼보를 차 말에 어디다 님이 나사디 시에라 그 나사디 요 말에 디시나 그 실리를 찍 디총으로 와 어디 찍 보셔
So how, even though we can't, how should I say, purify our negativities through the application of 4 powerful antidotes, but it's much better not to create them in the first place because that's going to slow down our spiritual progress. So that's the contention, we have been pursuing so far. And the new example Geshe has given that to illustrate that point is, let's say, it's much better to, remain healthy. Theoretically speaking, never get sick, right? But let's, then, somebody has a tremendous health at this very moment, and then for some reason something goes wrong, and the person gets really sick, and then goes to the hospital, and through good medical treatment, he or she regains the health, but still, person may not feel the same way, isn't it? Still something is nagging his or her health because of the effect of their sickness. Although you don't have the sickness anymore, but still there's some effect, right, through the treatment or through whatever, right? So it's the same thing, that negativities can be purified through application for powerful antidotes. Destroyed virtues, we can accumulate new virtues, but still it's going to slow down our spiritual progress and spiritual journey. And also Geshe said that even if the ripening effect of a karma is destroyed, but that doesn't mean all other effects are destroyed, right? Because karma still brings some other kinds of effect, like the environmental effect or the effect corresponding to the past experience and so forth.
and 지도 다디 코노 게자 주도 개시 버키부레스 타셔야 되도 상계냐지 롱을 때네 롱을 때네 리베체 바다 롱지고 된 지금 말아 봐 디레지네 손라도 로네 엔 제바진 다 제고 그러면서 랑사 다 제도 말에 생각아
So we're on page 157, paragraph 3 from bottom up, so where it is stated, so this is Je Rinpoche's, sharing his thoughts. So he thinks that even if the ripening outcome of the effect of a karma is destroyed, but still the karma could bring the other types of effects. But he also is very careful in telling us that you should do your critical thinking and research, right? And he advises us that we should study carefully Buddha's statements or the discourses, what Buddha has taught about these matters, about karma. And also we should use the valid reasoning, critical thinking part. So combining the scriptural authority, authenticity of Buddha's words, as well as the valid reasoning, then we should be able to come to our decision and conclusion, right? This is the case or this isn't the case, right? So he's just giving us the advice that we should pursue our investigation in this matter.
콘도다 좀고 말했어. 이 기대 가르스나 조조게 가르사. 개바도 진 리제 관심 없어. 다 타기 시작만 돈이도 해라면 돼.
나래.
다 엄마 집에 나라 데려와. 거기 지다 진짜 첨주 교학에 와 디나라 돈이도 해라면 돼. 어. 딘데 그 기대는 셰네. 다다 제르 뭐지 엄마 고마라제나 东西里边都被写了是不给咱们中文家的这么超是特别的这样嘛的呀。我在地空中的不是那边里边呢，这是的，但是部分也那边里边新学了吧？我听到每个的给前面的真的晓得，我听到这个东西都被写了给咱的。那空中中国是啊，比如说的有啥的，谁我现在没有的。
那么写的不罗宾英语说没给？
哦，你那么写的不啦？
So here are some important claims we make. In the Buddhist literature, we said that there isn't any kind of negativity, negative karma, that cannot be purified through the application of 4 powerful antidotes, right? So, which means that 4 powerful antidotes can purify any kind of a negative karma, period, right? And we take that statement at its face value and literally, right? There's no other interpretation. We said that's what it is. Okay. Now, then the kind of a question we could arise is, what about virtue? Is there any kind of virtue that cannot be destroyed by anger, right? Because we talked about how anger is very destructive of virtue, right? And so we can ask the question, is there any kind of a virtue or positive thing that is safe from anger, that cannot be destroyed by anger? So Gyeltsen Rinpoche, as Geshe recalls, in his work called Kongpa Rapsal, Unraveling Thought, that he kind of take the view that a virtue that is conjoined with realization of emptiness, right, is safe from anger. Okay, and of course, he's still not completely saying, this is what it is. He said, this is what I think it is, and you should still further investigate this matter. And so Gyeltsen Rinpoche, he studied many other Buddhist texts, among which maybe he found Vasubandhu's work called Namche Rigpa, which is, I think, presentation of, I would say, a knowledge or a reasoning at this moment. I don't know whether Rigpa is the knowledge or the reasoning here. And where I think Vasubandhu seems to have some statement towards that the kind of virtue that we accumulate and we just kind of stand by or conjoined with a realization of emptiness is safe. It cannot be destroyed by anger. So we will stop there for today. And as most of you know, there are some new people, so I'm just repeating our announcement last week that today we will dispense our question and answer session because some people have requested for refuge ceremony, and which Geshe we agreed to do that. So at this point, what we'll do is we will do a short dedication, and then everybody else, who you are free to go and enjoy lunch, and those who said I do stay. And we will stay with you. So again, the more do this, and some about the shoe more was passed again, and once it comes to second, they're killing you again. Okay. And I just want to remind you that most of you know that Kanden Rinpoche, who we see as the representative of Lama Tsongkhapa, 103rd Kanden Chiba, he just recently passed away. And a lot of pujas and prayers have been done in India across the monasteries, Sera Debung Ganden and others. So I would like to request you to think about him and to pray for the fulfillment of his wishes, and hopefully he'll come back soon again to continue his spiritual legacy. And 장주 진조 rinpoche 마제 바난 제조제 제와 냥바 오네 공동 배와이조 돈이 다와 rinpoche 마제 바난 제조제 제와 냥바 메바야 오네 공동 배와이조 사지 배제 조제 메동자 리라 니제 닌데 옌바데 산제 인도 메데부 난다 진라 주바이조 강리 라베 고베 신강데 벤당 대와 마르 중베네 제레 제와 딘진 장소예 小别水电把天就日夜到蒙古路上那蒙的了两道要。All right, so most of you are free to go.